Today we're diving deep into rubber tree care, or Ficus elastica. A plant that people consider easy, but it does have some specific growth patterns, light demands, and stress responses that might make or break your success. There are a lot of nuances with rubber trees that most care guides skip, like how they respond hormonally to pruning, why some cultivars are more prone to leaf drop, and how their woody stems change as they mature. So by the end of this video, you'll not only know how to keep your rubber tree alive, you'll understand how to make it thrive, grow tall, branch out, and stay glossy and full. I have had this Ficus shaveriana for quite a while, and I love how the new growth is bright pink. The leaves are absolutely beautiful. And then I recently got this gorgeous ruby rubber tree that I've been wanting a ruby rubber tree for a long time. And I'm gonna pot it up in some really great soil and just give it a little bit of TLC. This Houseplant Care 101 series is sponsored by rePotme.com. With rePotme, you can have all of your houseplant supplies delivered right to your door. They are a one-stop shop for all of your houseplant, orchid, or succulent needs. They have custom handmade houseplant soils ranging from tropical houseplants, cactus and succulents, pothos, snake plants, and more. I cannot live without their clear slotted orchid pots. They have amazing houseplant fertilizers and so much more. I've included their link in my description below, and you can get 10% off any soil with my code Ashley. Origin and growth habit. Rubber trees are native to Southeast Asia, where they grow 50 to 100 feet or more. They grow in bright but filtered tropical sun. So why does this matter? They are tree-form ficus, which means they prefer intense light to maintain color and prevent leggy growth. They have a thick woody trunk that stores water. This makes them forgiving with mist watering, but can cause real problems with chronic underwatering. They push growth only from the tip unless pruned, because of something called apical dominance, which means they want to grow tall but not bushy. Now, the different cultivars behave differently. So the burgundy rubber tree is going to be the fastest growing and the most forgiving. Then we have the Tinaceae and the Variegata. This would fall under the Variegata variety. And they're slower growing, they're more light dependent, and they drop leaves more easily. And then you're gonna have the ruby rubber tree, which needs the most light because that's going to encourage the pink on the leaves. So you can see this one has like pink on the outside of the leaves, but the more light I give it, the more pink we're going to see, which we want to see a lot of pink leaves on this one. Lighting is probably the most misunderstood aspect of growing rubber trees in our homes. They want bright light. And bright light in our home is going to be different than bright light out in their natural habitats. So the brightest room in your home and the brightest spot, that's where you want to put your rubber trees. An ideal spot would be an east, west, or south facing window, or in the winter months under a really nice strong grow light. 8 to 12 hours of strong light daily is recommended. So if your plant's not getting enough light, what does that do? The lower leaves will yellow and drop, and the variegation on the plant will fade. The growth itself will become really sparse and weak. The plant will actually lean towards the light and become unstable. It will become leggy. It just causes so many problems for these plants. So variegated plants must have bright light to maintain their beautiful colors because they have less chlorophyll than other plants. The low light will cause leaf drop and then cause them to have like that bald look, and they'll just be really unhappy. Incorrect watering is probably one of the biggest core problems that people have when they're taking care of their rubber trees. Rubber trees store water in their trunks and they don't like consistently wet soil. However, they also hate being kept bone dry for long periods, especially if they're in bright light. So here's a watering rule of thumb. Water when the top 2 to 3 inches of the soil are dry, when the leaves feel slightly less rigid, or the pot itself feels really light. You can also use a moisture meter or just use like the test to put your finger in there, or you could put a chopstick in there to see if there's moisture. Now that we're in fall and we're coming into winter, I think it's really important to mention that these plants drink a lot less in the winter time. They drink a lot less in the winter because of the shorter days, lower photosynthesis, slower metabolism, and the cooler overall indoor temperature. Only water when they truly need it in winter, because overwatering in winter is one of the reasons that these plants end up really struggling and not making it through the winter months.
I'm a broken record on spreading the good word of using the right type of soil for your plants. That is the most important step I find in preventing overwatering. Overwatering causes root rot. Root rot is the #1 way to kill your plant. It's the fastest way. It's hard to come back from it. We can come back from most other issues. Like we can figure out the pest thing, no problem. We can figure out lighting, that's fine. We can figure it out. But overwatering from the wrong type of soil is very, very hard to come back from. So that's my main focus today, is setting these plants up for success. And here's some ways that I know that needs to be repotted. First of all, I can see that there's roots coming out the bottom of the plant, which you can see here. Desperate sign for repotting. Also, the new leaves are a lot smaller than the old leaves, so that's a sign that it needs to be repotted. That could also be a sign of needing more light. Another sign that your plant needs to be repotted is if you're watering it and the water's shooting straight through, or it's gathering on the top and not being absorbed. That means that the plant has become hydrophobic. Sometimes it looks like our plant does not need to be repotted, but it would benefit so much from fresh soil. So every few years, I always repot my plants because that fresh soil just makes such a difference, because it's going to do a much better job of retaining nutrients and moisture. It also is not going to have the mineral buildup that a lot of the soil gets. So it's always worth repotting your plant every few years. What type of pot is best for rubber trees? Most of us have a big rubber tree in the corner of our homes or by the window, and it just is a statement piece because they're so beautiful. And that usually comes with a really pretty cover pot, or pot in general. So I would say that if you are using a ceramic pot, just make sure that there are a ton of drainage holes. But I would recommend actually potting it up in a nursery pot if possible, and then putting that nursery pot into your beautiful cover pot, because that just makes it way easier when it comes time to repot. You just have the plastic nursery pot to contend with, not a huge heavy ceramic pot. You can also switch out cover pots as you need to. Sometimes they can get so root bound that you have to break the ceramic pot. So I always like to pot it up in nursery pots. These are from rePotme. They're the clear slotted orchid pots. And I love any kind of clear nursery pot because I can keep an eye on the roots. I can keep an eye on the moisture. I can just see how it's doing overall if I have any pest issues. I love that these have so much drainage. They're amazing. I try to pot up as many of my plants as I can in these. I also get asked a lot about this potting mat. This is from rePotme as well. I have like a malleable soft one, but I like this one a lot better. I'm much less likely to spill stuff. I couldn't live without it. So yeah, terracotta is also really good if you're somebody who waters your plants a lot, or if you're overwaterer. It will wick away moisture. So I try not to disturb the roots too much with ficus. They really don't enjoy that. They're kind of delicate in that way, and they'll end up focusing a lot on root repair instead of putting out the new leaves that we love so much. So I am going to not mess with it too much because the roots look good. They look healthy. I don't see any mushy roots, smelly roots. If I did, I could do a treatment. I could trim off any brown, old roots. But this looks pretty good. So let me pick one. Maybe a little bit bigger than that. The problem with a pot that is too large is that there's going to be a lot of soil compared to the size of the root ball, and so it's going to be sitting in excess moisture sometimes if I don't have the right type of soil. However, I know for a fact I'm going to have really great soil and that it's not going to be retaining too much moisture at all for the plant, which makes me want to use the larger pot. Actually, I think this would actually be great for this one. And I want this plant to grow nice and big. So I'm going to go with the larger one. But I definitely wouldn't go something like this big. Also, the plant would spend so much time trying to fill up the pot with roots rather than on leaf growth. But this looks reasonable to me. Also, if you're doing plant maintenance and you notice pests, please make sure to treat it and wash it off, maybe spray it down with some insecticidal soap before you wash it off. Just kill off any pests on there, and wash your hands before you start actively touching any of your other plants. With pest management, that's the thing, is to not contaminate by touching other plants and stuff. So let's talk about soil, my favorite part. Rubber trees want 3 things: aeration, drainage, moisture retention. They like soil that stays lightly moist, but isn't too dense. So everyone loves a good soil recipe, and here's what I'd say if you want to make your own soil at home. That's a very easy recipe to follow. I'd say 40 to 50% a really nice quality potting mix that's going to retain moisture, and then the rest can be perlite, pumice. They love orchid bark. You could throw in some activated charcoal in there if you wanted to. You could also put some worm castings. I've been starting to do a little bit more of that. That like incorporates some nutrients in the soil. I can't express enough how worth it is to invest in a really good soil. Whether you're making your own or you buy like a customized soil blend for your plants, whatever you do, don't just grab like a standard potting mix or necessarily like leave it in the soil that it comes in from the store. If the soil looks to be like really dense, like I said, they hate that, because soil is just like the #1 way to prevent root rot and prevent issues. So you want to make sure you have a great soil, and then you can kind of like make other little mistakes and it's not going to be the end of the world, because that soil is like, I don't know, it's just the base for everything else. Today I'm going to be using the Fig and Ficus Imperial Potting Soil Mix from rePotme.com. I've been doing a Houseplant Care 101 series with them for a few years now. I'm so proud to be partnered with them. Their products are amazing. I only ever hear good things about them, and my own experience has been amazing. They have so many different houseplant supplies that get like delivered right to your door. They also have houseplants available for sale now. So I think they even have like Tenacious little rubber trees if anybody's interested in looking on there. They have so many amazing soils. I'm obsessed with them. I always like to show the customized soil blend. That way you can make sure that yours looks like it. So this one, you can see it has nice potting mix. It has perlite, but it has a lot of bark in it. So maybe go stronger on the bark. You can see like pieces of activated charcoal, which helps prevent bacteria buildup. They have a really nice quality potting mix mixed in there too, so that it does retain moisture. Like absolutely beautiful soils. So this Ficus Shiveriana is going to be so happy. It's been begging me, like, please repot me. So here you go, buddy. The best time to repot your plants is like spring and summer. This soil is so nice. Oh, this plant's gonna be so happy. So you wanna give it a little pat, a little shimmy. Like also with the clear pot, you can check, make sure there's not any holes in there or gaps. Looks great. All right, let's do the next one. I love the cover pot that this plant came in, so I'm gonna keep it. But you can see there's no drainage holes, and that's pretty typical with most like fancy cover pots, and some people will actually like drill holes into it. I can't be bothered to do all that. I'll just keep it in a really nice clear nursery pot and then put it in the cover pot. The only thing is that when you're watering, you want to make sure that it's not sitting in excess water in the cover pot. All right, so let's check out what we have going on with the roots, and then that will tell me what size pot I need to do. I always, at the plant shop, try to take a look at the roots, and I saw that they looked pretty good. There's a lot of room. Like you can see, it's not overly compact, the roots, so it's not super root bound. Again, these plants don't like to be messed with too much, so I'm going to be very, very gentle. But I'm just making sure there's not any like little baskets in here or netting or restrictions or... Now we always want to go 1 to 2 inches, I don't know, I'd say at least 2 inches bigger for the rubber trees, but bigger than the root ball. So it doesn't, see how the difference is? We don't want to necessarily always go 2 inches bigger than the original nursery pot. You want to look at the root ball and go off of that, because this can be misleading. We don't want to do too big of a pot. That can cause a lot of problems. Yeah, I think this one looks great. Perfect. I'm really excited about this one. Get some of our delicious soil. I don't know if delicious is the right word, but very nice soil. Old soil versus new soil. This is the old soil. This is the new soil. You can see the new soil has a lot more bits in it to cause aeration and drainage. Because I don't want to be stressed out every time I water this plant. Is it retaining too much moisture? And I like to know I can give it as much water as I want. If I give it, it's like, doesn't matter how much water I give it, it's going to just drain out the excess. Now, I always like to hear your tips as well. So feel free to leave in the comments. As always, we have a super knowledgeable plant community. So let me know what you've been finding with your Ficus varieties, what works best. After repotting, it's always a good idea to give your plants a good drink, and you want to water from the top after repotting. So that's going to like allow the plant to settle. So I'll show you what I mean by well draining. And it doesn't matter how much water I give this plant because it's going to drain out the excess. You see how well draining it is already? Give it a little squeeze, let it settle in, get some more water. Nice. Yeah, this soil is great. It's well draining while still retaining moisture. So there is water in the cover pot, and I'm actually going to let it sit in that water for probably 20 minutes. And then I'm going to take it out and dump out the excess water. This is because it's my first time watering it. I want it to be consistently moist throughout. Yeah. So there you go. So don't forget though, don't forget to like not let it sit in that water for a long time. Bottom watering is also always great to do. Like what I'm doing here is bottom watering this plant now, and that's a terrific way to water a lot of different houseplants. It prevents water from getting on the leaves. It allows consistent watering when it absorbs up through the bottom, through the drainage holes. So feel free to do that with any of your tropical plants. They'll love it. Temperature and humidity is really the unsaid trigger for leaf drop for these plants. They like 40 to 60% humidity, no drafts, and they also like consistent temperatures. So what can cause leaf drop? This is a big problem for ficus. I recently had this go on with my fiddle leaf fig too. And this would be things that are sudden changes. These plants hate sudden changes. For example, moving the plant to a different location, cold drafts, turning the heat on in winter can do it, transportation shock, a sudden drop below 55 degrees Fahrenheit. If you're comfortable in your home with temperature, your plants should be comfortable. If you're cold, your plants are going to be cold. So rubber trees typically drop leaves as a stress response, not necessarily a watering response. Fertilizing is hugely important for these plants. Look at their leaves. They're very foliage dense plants, and they can be, you know, with the right conditions, good growers. So here's what you need to do. You need to fertilize in the spring and the summer months, without a doubt. And you want to get something that's for houseplants. Perfect for houseplants, something that's balanced if you want to. rePotme has some great fertilizers that I used this year and had really great success with. There's two here. There's an organic one, which organic you can like accidentally do a little bit too much and it's not going to cause your roots to burn. And then there's synthetic, which works great. My plants love it. You just want to be very careful measuring this one. When you start fertilizing in the spring, you want to start at 50% strength because those plants are just waking up from the dormancy period during winter. So unless you're seeing a lot of growth in the winter time, in which case you can fertilize in the winter, just go at half strength. But when you're first starting out in the spring, start at half strength. And then see how your plants respond, allow them to kind of like wake up, get into the growing months and into the mood, and then go at full strength all through the summer months, and then beginning of fall, start to taper off again with fertilizing and go to 50% strength. But these plants definitely need fertilizing, definitely. All right, so let's talk about pruning and shaping these plants. The key principle here is apical dominance, apical, apical, but they have one bud that is on the top of the plant, and they will not grow bushy. They want to grow tall unless you prune them. So if you want your plant to not just be a solo one stem tree, then you need to prune your plant. If you don't prune it, you'll never get side branches. So here's how to branch or prune a rubber tree. So you want to pick the location where you want the new branches to come out, and then you want to trim between the node of that. And then the new branches will start to come out underneath that node or along the bottom of the plant. And then take that branch that you trimmed and put it in water, and then that will start to put out roots. The reason I'm not doing that right this second is because it is winter, and winter is especially hardcore in Michigan. So if I was in North Carolina, I wouldn't worry about it so much because it's still pretty moderate in wintertime. But in Michigan, it's really cold, really dark here, and right now is not a good time for me to trim off and start to like try to branch out this plant. The best time to do it is spring, and then also summer's great. The other thing to mention is that the reason why they're called rubber trees is that the sap has like a latex quality to it that they would make rubber from. So the sap itself can be thick and latexy, and it can cause irritation on the skin, and it's like this white sap, so just be careful with that and wipe it off so it doesn't like get on your skin and stuff. Pest management is very, very common with houseplants, but don't get stressed because it can be an easy fix. I always recommend using systemic granules along with insecticidal soap. These, you just sprinkle it into the soil, and then when you water your plant, the plant absorbs the active ingredients and it kills off pests. It also works great to kill off stuff in the soil like fungus gnats. So 10 out of 10 recommend this product. There's lots of different brands out there, but it's really great, systemic granules. But be careful with pets because this is a toxic product. And then this is insecticidal soap. This is for like organic gardening, but I like to use these two in conjunction because this will kill off all pests. So the only thing that this one doesn't take care of are spider mites, takes care of everything else. This one takes care of everything plus spider mites. And this one actually sprays on the leaves and kills the pest on contact. So if you are having a pest outbreak, it's great for prevention. I recommend washing the leaves off, spraying this on there. It's a wonderful prevention. Do that like once a month. But if you're seeing active problems, spray this all over the plant, wash it off, and then give it another spray. And that will help alongside the systemic granules. So also, like, I found the systemic granules has gotten rid of my need to use mosquito bits, which I was using to combat fungus gnats. But now I can save money on my mosquito bits. I don't have to get those anymore. I just use my systemic granules. I hope this video was helpful. I love rubber trees. They are so, so beautiful. I'm very excited to see the new growth I'm going to be getting now from these two gorgeous plants. Feel free, please, leave your tips and tricks. We have a super knowledgeable plant community, and if you are interested in other houseplant care videos, I have done a lot of different ones, and I also do plant shopping, just all around good planty vibes, so feel free to subscribe if you want to see more videos in your newsfeed. We also have a great community on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Alright, I hope you have an absolutely wonderful rest of the day, and that I get to see you soon. Bye!